Okay, one more thing tonight before I go watch Lord of the Rings with my 14-year-old, because that's the reward that we gave ourselves for doing the No King's March on Saturday. And it is Tuesday, and we're just now getting around to it. Yesterday, we had some pretty upsetting news come in from the Ninth Circuit as this 3-judge panel, two Trump-appointed judges, and then Judge Graber was the dissenting opinion. They ruled that Trump could send the Guard into Oregon. I made a conscious choice yesterday not to talk about that ruling in any videos, although I did talk about it on Blue Sky, where I believe I said that the decision of the 2 Trump judges was shit garbage, I think. Yeah, I had to go check what I said. I called it a shit garbage ruling because that's absolutely what it was. You know, I try to have this policy of when there's really devastating, scary, overwhelming breaking news that I don't talk about it for a day or sometimes 2 or 3. Because when there is a rapidly evolving breaking story, we need to just wait a second. We need to take a deep breath and wait and see what shakes out. And I know there are creators who are like, breaking news. I know that those kind of scary headlines get mad clicks and creators make mad money sharing shocking, terrifying, breaking stories. And then they talk about it for, 61 seconds so they can monetize it, or maybe they make a longer video and slap it up on YouTube, but then they don't come back and talk about how the story evolves. And so you just get this wave of like the really scary initial bad news and very little context and very little follow-up. And I'm perennially frustrated with that. So yesterday there was breaking news, 3-judge panel rules against the decision of, or overturns the decision of Judge Immergut and says that the Oregon National Guard can be mobilized here. I'm telling y'all, I got flooded with messages, and I'm in a couple of group chats where people kind of lost their shit. And I don't blame them. The headlines were really scary. The headlines were really alarming. People were like, okay, we got to get ready. The Oregon National Guard is coming. Folks were making it sound like, I don't know, the apocalypse. And again, I know that people get really emotionally escalated, and I'm always trying to encourage us to de-escalate ourselves, right? I want to encourage us to take it down, because we shouldn't be complacent. We shouldn't be pie in the sky. We shouldn't be a Pollyanna about what's going to happen, like whatever other terminology you want to use. We shouldn't pretend that things are less bad than they are, but we also should not catastrophize. And when something is just breaking, you don't have all of the information yet because so many pieces are still in play. And the regime really wants you to panic, right? Trump wants you to believe that he has the authority to do whatever he wants with our military and nobody can stop him. He would love nothing better than for you to freak the fuck out after hearing a ruling like that by 2 Trump-appointed judges who are completely wrong. I say that as a complete lay person, right? I'm not a lawyer, but I follow an awful lot of really good lawyers on Blue Sky, and I'm friends with some really skilled lawyers who are like, this ruling is straight ass. Let's just wait and see what happens. And one of the things I immediately was like typing out to people and posting on Blue Sky was like, okay, hang on. This is a fresh ruling. Our Attorney General, Dan Rayfield, y'all, he's been prepping all the plans since January. He knows what's going on. He's incredibly qualified. And also, he's been willing to go to the mat for Oregonians over and over. You think he's not going to have a response to this ruling? I saw so many people yesterday reporting that the appeals court had overturned the ruling and that the Guard was coming to Oregon. Without additional context, I really want to encourage you, again, dig deeper than that 61-second video that you see some TikTok creator make and is getting 100,000 views. Dig deeper than the headline. Because you know what I did right away when I saw this story? I went and read Judge Susan Graber's dissenting opinion. Because it was a scathing rebuke of the other 2 judges on the panel. Now, I knew that Attorney General Rayfield had anticipated this potential ruling, and he was ready. He was ready to act. So I knew that was going to be coming. But it was when I read the dissent that I was like, oh yeah. There's a lot more going on here than like a straight up ruling and then our Attorney General appealing it. Judge Graber said of the decision by those 2 Trumper judges on the panel that the decision erodes core constitutional principles, including sovereign states' control over their states' militias and the people's First Amendment rights to assemble and to object to the government's policies and actions. She said she strenuously dissented. Judge Graber went on to call for the Ninth Circuit to have an en banc review. And attorney Dan Rayfield, a few hours after she asked for that, said that Oregon joined her in that request. So en banc is where you, again, I'm not an attorney, but en banc is where basically like the whole bench hears the case, right? So this was just a 3-judge panel, and they're saying, no, we need everybody to hear this. Now, the Ninth Circuit, I had to go look it up. It's not actually all of the active judges. It will be an 11-judge panel, should they agree to do an en banc hearing of the case. There also was a filing sua sponte by another judge, which I think is, from what I've read from attorneys on Blue Sky, that's extremely unusual for another active judge to file a separate ruling being like this, basically being like, this is a garbage shit ruling, right? Like I said, this is a terrible ruling and this needs to be reviewed by more judges. This is not something that can be allowed to stand. The fact that all of that additional information rolled out within just a few hours of the initial headline, and yet I saw so many people only cling to that headline and get really, really freaked out. First of all, y'all, if the Oregon Guard gets utilized in our city, that's not going to be as bad as you think it is. Yeah, it'll be unjust. It'll be a violation of our rights. It won't be a good scene, but people were catastrophizing so bad. We already have the commander, the general for the Oregon Guard, telling us that he's going to prioritize the safety, the protection of Oregonians. I, for one, would love to see the National Guard stand in between nonviolent protesters and ICE so that ICE cannot brutalize them. The greater detriment to this country, I think, would be if that ruling is allowed to stand. I think that would set a really terrible precedent, which I think is also why we're seeing so many legal experts immediately decry this ruling as complete ass, as a terrible, terrible decision. I want to encourage y'all. The regime wants you to panic. The regime wants you to freak out. They want you to see bad news and think that Trump's plans are inevitable, that nobody is stopping him. Y'all, there are good people all over this country who are using every means possible to fight back. We have advocates we have friends everywhere. Yeah, he's been able to position his cronies around the government. These are Trump-appointed judges. It's like elections have consequences. Y'all who didn't want to vote for Hillary Clinton, y'all who are on the left and say that both parties are exactly the same, that it doesn't matter who gets elected because the parties are exactly the same. What you're looking at in the Ninth Circuit, what you're looking at from SCOTUS right now, none of that would be happening if Donald Trump had not been elected in his first term. Yeah, there's problems with both parties. I did not like Hillary Clinton. We can get into that. It's a whole nother thing. I voted for her because I understood she was not the same as Donald Trump and that there were a number of court appointments that were coming up. Elections have consequences. Think about that when you move forward into the midterms, as we all move forward into the midterms. Our free and fair elections are under threat. We must defend that right vigorously. We have to all get out and vote. Both parties are not the same. Anyway, before I get too much more on that tangent, I really want to encourage y'all. When you see bad news, when you see really scary news, please, maybe take a break from social media. See what you can do to de-escalate yourself, to take yourself down and realize that there's more information that's going to come out. Please, if there's any way for you to just pump the brakes on the freak out, right? Don't give the regime what they want. They want you to panic. They want you to be so in your emotion mind that you cannot strategize for what we need to do next. They want you to be so escalated that you make mistakes, crucially impactful mistakes. Don't give them that. Wait a breath. An evolving story is evolving. Every action that they take, that opens a door for us to respond. There are good people all around this country who are not going to miss those opportunities to fight back. Take a breath. Let the story evolve. We got to maintain our focus. We got to maintain our perseverance. We have to maintain our morale. If a story is breaking and it's causing you to spiral, or if you watch breaking news and it causes you to go to a really dark place when you hear a headline without context, without the evolution of the story, maybe you want to take a break from watching that kind of content. Set limits to your consumption of media that sends you into a spiral, and understand these stories are evolving.